Hi, Oki, and welcome to the Learning Lounge. My name is Greg Patenaude, and I'm an instructor in the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry. I'm joined here today with my colleague, Jessica Willi, and we're here to talk about the U of L Peer Mentorship Program.
Hi, I'm Jessica Willi, and I am a brand new faculty here at the U of L as of last summer, and I teach biochemistry.
The U of L Peer Mentorship Program is a program to help support the teaching of new and experienced faculty members. Jessica, you're a new member, a new faculty member at the U of L, and I was just curious as to how you got to become involved in the Peer Mentorship Program.
Well, I mean, it starts as so many things start with an email in your inbox. And at the beginning, my inbox was very empty, so I was happy to see something come in. But it was an offer to join this mentorship program. And I thought, why not? There are many things that I don't know starting out at the U of L. I did not do my undergrad here or any furthering education. So a lot of the systems at the university were very foreign to me. And I thought it was a good way to get to know some of my fellow new colleagues, as well as a forum to ask some questions and get some bearings.
So when you started the U of L mentorship program, did you have a specific goal in mind about how you wanted this to help you, I guess? Was it in your teaching? Was it about getting your bearings at the U of L? Was it both of those?
I think I didn't have a real specific goal. When I was looking at faculty positions, I got a lot of advice from other people to get mentors in all of those different areas of like research, of how to work with students and build a team, how to be effective, how to write a grant, how to do your teaching and develop a class. So there's all these new areas when you're starting as an instructor, as a professor, that are really different from what I've been doing before. And so it's not just done with having one mentor, right? You need kind of a mentor for each of these areas. And also, if you ask academics for advice, you're going to get a lot of different pieces of advice. So I like to kind of benefit from the wisdom of the crowd, if you will, and have a couple different people that can give me their honest opinion, and I can benefit from their experience, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy you mentioned this idea of different aspects of your job, of looking for advice or help from that, because the one thing about the peer mentorship program is in this aspect it's there to help hopefully support the teaching of like I said, new and experienced faculty members. However, I also find part of the value for that too is just to also learn the system, if you will, or like the university as a whole, especially as you were not here as an undergrad, and so learning, like you said, the system, where things are, who to talk to about different aspects and stuff like that, and so that's kind of the goal of the mentorship program. So, how was your experience with the mentorship program?
It kind of gradually built, and it's also very dependent on where in the semester you're at, right? So some cases might be where I just don't know who to ask for certain things. So when a student emails me and says they're sick for this midterm, is that my responsibility? Do they have to go to some office somewhere? And then in the case of the mentorship program, I could just either go by my mentor's office real quick or shoot her a quick email and ask her, who do I talk to about this problem, right? Because there's systems in place, but there are these unknown unknowns for me as a new person, and my mentor can kind of guide me in the right direction. And then other problems come up at very specific time points in the semester. So I recall a situation last December when I was getting increasingly threatening emails from the dean's office. I'm kidding, but increasingly urgent emails from the dean's office telling me to input my final grades. And I had my final grades in a nice little Excel spreadsheet, and no one ever told me how do I input the grades and where do I input them, right? So I actually managed to catch you in your office just before the holidays, and you were able to, within 10 minutes show me how to do it properly. But those are the things that they don't tell you when you first start on your job at your first day, because it's not urgent yet, until it is urgent.
Yeah. No, that's interesting, because every university has their own way of doing things. And sure, there could perhaps be a manual for that, but that manual would probably be 8,000 pages long, right? Because there's so many different minutiae of things that every faculty member have to do throughout the semester. So, and yeah, to me, coming from the mentor side of this program, is that I think the real value of that the program can offer to especially new people to the university is to just kind of be able to help guide them with these, they're not difficult, but they're just little things that help you get through your day, because you're like, well, how do I input this stuff? And, again, the answer is fairly quickly, or it's a fairly quick fix, so to speak, right? And so.
Yeah, but for me, the value of the mentorship program, it really goes beyond these kind of quick fix admin things, because from my mentors, I've really been able to kind of benefit from their wisdom. So they've been here at the UFL for 10, 20 years. They've seen a lot of students come through. They've developed courses. And so I can ask them these more kind of human-centric questions. So how do I teach a topic? How do I approach it? How do I deal with problem students? How do I develop a course? How do I set up an exam so that it's not just testing the material, but then at the back end, it's actually a good amount of work for me to evaluate, so I'm not burdening myself with more and more work. And these are all things that you can't really address with a manual, right? You need the person there that has the experience and that maybe made some errors along the way, and they can pass on that experience to me, so I don't have to make those same mistakes. I get to make new ones too.
Yeah. The mentors are, I think, are a special group here who partake in the program because they are very experienced members of the university, but they're also very passionate about their teaching, and so they've all experienced, I think, the things that you have experienced so far and will experience later on in your career. And it's just great to, like you said, to rely on their wisdom in order to kind of help you get through those moments. I think the other value, from my opinion, the other big value of the program is just kind of making those connections with other members of the university, right? Of your your educator or cohort, so to speak. And so you'd mentioned that you had you mentioned plural, so mentors plural. So I just wanted to briefly talk about that, how because you were paired with two mentors, and we generally try to pair each mentee with two mentors. And so, what were your thoughts on that? Do you see the value in having two different people? And I guess, were they from different departments?
Yeah. So both of my mentors were from different departments, and one was supposed to be more on the research side of things, and one is more experienced with teaching. But of course, our conversations weren't necessarily restricted to those areas. And I really found it helpful to have people from different backgrounds, different from mine, but also different from each other. And so I could address different types of questions with them. And we also had different types of overlap, right? So one of my mentors is a woman that maybe faces similar challenges to me in being in front of the students in the classroom and being challenged maybe on certain things by the students. So we could relate to each other, and I could get some of her input in how to deal with some of those sticky situations. And then my other mentor has an immigrant background just like me, and shares the experience of being new to Canada, which is something I could really relate to as I'm settling in here in my first year. So for me, that was very valuable to have that diversity of backgrounds and to be be able to touch base with my mentors on different subjects.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's really nice to hear, because one of the things that we do when we have new intake of mentees is the pairing process, we think, is very, very important. Not that we feel like people have to be tied to their specific mentor, but there is an intake form that you fill out, just a few questions and stuff like that. And we do try and address the mentees, I guess, needs, what they answered on this intake form, and it can be various different things, and not necessarily always teaching centric, but it can be about things about, like you said, whether it's gender issues, not being a native of this particular country or whatever it may be. And so we do try and have a diversity of mentors to kind of meet those needs, potential needs of the mentees. So and that's nice to hear, because that's what we're really trying to do, is just support the person in, not just in their teaching, right? It's just about everything. For me, I think also, I think one of the other values is just having someone to be able to talk to. Depending on how often, a mentee might particularly meet with their mentor, but they don't always have to talk about whether it's, teaching challenges or how to develop a course or something like that. Sometimes it's just a check-in over coffee and just say, hey, how was your weekend, right? And I think that can go a long way, because especially when you're new, it can also be fairly, lonely, I guess. I mean, teaching is already a fairly insular profession, because it's just you and your students and stuff like that. So it is kind of nice, I think, to be able to talk to other members, just, about all of that. So did you find that as well?
Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up too. Starting out as a professor, it can get really lonely. Most of the time you're sitting in your office in front of your computer, writing a grant or preparing some lecture material. And yes, you have contact with the students, but you don't have contact with them as peers, right? They are your students, and you have a professional interaction with them. But sometimes you want to grab coffee with someone and gripe about how your week's been going.
Yeah.
And you can't do that with your students. You can't do that with people in your team necessarily. So it's nice to have that connection of a mentor, where you can kind of talk on an even playing field with each other.
Yeah. I think that's the other value of also having two mentors for a mentee, is that you can have someone potentially in your department, hopefully, if it's available, to talk about more maybe departmental related things. But it is nice to get, because it just lets you meet someone outside of the department, and then hopefully, that relationship can lead to just, knowing these people, and then you start to learn and meet new people outside your department as well. And then it also gives, I think, avenues into being able to meet other people who might be, I'll use the word, experts in different in different things as well. So, for example, the mentors are a fairly tight-knit group of people, and so I know in the past, for example, when I had a mentee, and they had a specific question that they were trying to grapple with, and I didn't really have any experience with that, but I knew another mentor that did, and so I was able to actually get them to connected in order so that they can talk and stuff like that. So I think this is the real value. It's really this sort of connection, these relationships that you can make with initially with those mentors, but then perhaps it'll grow beyond that. So did you feel like you created a meaningful relationship with?
Yeah, and it's not just the one-on-one connection between mentee and mentor, right? So at the end of the semester, people who are involved in the mentorship program, we get together for a dinner or a beer, and we just kind of talk about how things went or teaching in general. And that's allowed me to get to know people from completely different departments, right? That I might never cross in the hallway or never have overlap with on a research basis. But now I know, someone in the mathematics department, for example. And it also shows that we get together and we're talking about teaching and how to design courses in basically our free time because we want to support each other. And it just demonstrates how important it is to all of us to be good instructors, to deliver quality education to our students, and to never think, oh, hey, I got it all figured out. You can always be improving. And I think as a community, we're really standing together and helping each other and, passing ideas back and forth to constantly keep improving. So it's nice to see that is important to people and that are passionate about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really interesting observation, because when I started to be more involved with other members of the university and talking about teaching, like you said, in passion and seeing what they were dealing with in terms of struggles and whatnot, it quickly became apparent to me, because again, we talked about how the teaching is very insular, and you quickly realize, though, that when you are teaching and talking to other people, that it doesn't matter if they're from mathematics or kinesiology or nursing, we all kind of go through the same, self-doubts, the same issues and whatever it is. So it is really nice to be able to talk to people, not necessarily to validate those things, but just to kind of talk them out a little bit. You're like, oh, I'm not alone in this. But then you have that support, right? It is a really good support group, I think. And I think, to me, like, that's really the core of this particular program, is just to give, especially new people, because they're new to the university, just a few connection points to some people at first, and then hopefully that leads to that their network of colleagues grows from that. So it gives them at least an initial sort of seed point, and so then they can kind of grow from there. Because as you get a little bit more experience here at the U of L, you're going to meet more people and stuff like that, and then hopefully continue to grow. So I'm glad that's what you experienced as well.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Do you feel like you're going to continue being involved in some way, not necessarily with the mentorship program, but with teaching or the teaching center, or just kind of continuing just with the community, I guess, the teaching community here at the U of L?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to keep involved on the mentorship side, of course, because I'm getting a lot out of it. But also, I think as a community, I think it's important that we keep evolving the teaching profession, because things are moving so fast, whether it's with AI or new emerging technologies. We have to keep teaching dynamic, not static, and keep evolving. And that means we can move much faster if we learn from other people as well. So I think the UFL does a really good job of, constantly talking about teaching. It's already evolved so much since I was a student, right? I see these new exciting technologies that are being implemented, and the students respond to that really positively. I think the students notice that we care and that we are trying to do a good job. Sometimes they notice also that we have really high standards, but we also believe in the students that they can go and they can meet these high standards that we set.
Yeah. I think one of my own personal sort of philosophies on this is just, good teaching starts with, you just have to care about, like, not necessarily about the students, but about the teaching, about all of it, right? You just kind of have to have that emotional investment into it, I think, for it to be like more meaningful. And so you are right. I mean, we have changed and things have evolved and went. Like, we went through the pandemic where everything was online, and so that was kind of obviously like a very sharp corner that everyone had to turn instantly, and then coming out of that, we've just launched into, like you said, AI, and so there is a lot of things to kind of keep up with, and who knows where things will lead in the future. And of course, these type of issues, I'll call them, they all affect different departments differently, right? I'm sure some departments have different concerns about AI than others, and so on and so forth. So yeah, it is nice to talk to colleagues and just have people, so you can just, like you said, just have conversations about these different issues and how they're handling these different issues. And so That's one of the main points of the mentorship program, is just to have this sort of community of of like-minded people who can just help each other out. I also wanted to ask you about the mentorship program itself in terms of the structure. Were you, obviously everyone's really busy, and I understand that. But so I was just wondering how much commitment, I guess, you put into the program, because the program is we tried to design it so that it's actually mentee driven. And so what we mean by that is that we want the mentees to get out of it whatever they want to get out of it. So they can, meet with their mentors as many times as they want. Some of them do a lot more than others, and that's totally fine. We want them to kind of drive the process. So what was your experience with that?
Yeah, maybe sometimes I'm a little bad about driving that conversation or asking for help. I think I maybe arranged for a meeting every other month or so, which probably could be more. But I think the value in it for me is also just knowing that I have someone there that I can ask, even if it's a quick email, even if it's just popping my head into their office for, a 5-10 minute conversation. It doesn't always have to be this appointment that we sit down for coffee or something that formal, right? It maybe starts as this formal relationship that you put on your calendar, that you meet with your mentor, but then it evolves into more of like a collegial relationship. And I think in that sense, it is mentee driven, right? Because I go and I ask when I need help. That's maybe also something that I've learned developing from a postdoc into this professor role, that I don't have to figure out everything by myself, right? When you're interviewing, you're trying to impress. You're trying to say, oh, I am this million trick pony and I can do everything. I'm the whole package. And then in reality, in your day-to-day job, it's actually okay to ask for help because, like I said, other people have encountered these problems before and have figured out solutions to them. So why should I need to kind of suffer and waste time trying to figure out exactly the same solution if someone could just tell me?
Yeah. No, I think you answered the question exactly how we wanted it. I think you did drive it exactly how we wanted to. You got out of it as much as you needed, right? And so that's the idea. So again, there's some people who might want to meet more on a formal weekly basis type thing, and then other people it's a little bit less. Perhaps the contact time's a little bit less, but again, it's all driven from them, and so that's the decision. So that's nice to hear, and also this idea of it evolving organically from essentially more of a formal thing to more of a collegial thing. That's the other thing we're trying. We just want people to kind of make connections with other people, and then this is something that hopefully it'll be a relationship that you'll have your entire time that you're here with a person. Not necessarily meeting formally, but you can always just talk to this person, like you said, pop in your head into their office and just see how the day's going, or talk about some other teaching related issue, right?
Yeah. And it's funny you brought up earlier this intake form where you asked the mentees what are some questions you would like help with. And I'll be honest, I don't even remember what I put. And I'm sure if you went back and looked at what I wrote down, it probably ended up not being what my mentors and I talked about, because you don't know what your problems are going to be down the line. Yeah. And once I knew once I knew my mentors, I actually thought of new things to ask them because I learned, this person's really into statistics, or this person has a background from this one university where I have a graduate student applying from. So I'm going to give my mentor the portfolio and let him have a look at it. And these are things that you can really only think to ask once you actually know your mentor and know them as a person. So tremendously helpful in ways that I could have not predicted beforehand.
Yeah. And like I've always said about almost everything, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And so having these initial I call them contact points, people that you can ask them that. They might not have the answer, but hey, they might know someone who does know the answer or has some other idea or something like that, and they can lead you to that. So yeah, to me, that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah. And it's also for me to kind of get my name out there, right? When I started, it was kind of this time of the year, no students in the hallways. The university gets a little bit eerie almost. And you feel like you're just sitting all by yourself in your office. And there's really no way to really meet colleagues because they're traveling or they're also on vacation. And through the mentorship program, of course, I have my contact points with my mentors, but then maybe they know other people and they can mention my name to them. And then maybe a collaboration comes up, or maybe they want to give a guest lecture, or they want me to give a guest lecture in one of their courses. So those kind of connections, they spread, right? Like a network, I guess. And it's a good way for me as a new faculty to get to know other people, but also for people to get to know me and say, oh, there's a new faculty here in biochemistry. Well, so I talked a lot about what I've gotten out of it, the mentorship program, but I wanted to kind of turn the question around on you. What are some things where the mentors can actually benefit from participating?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I often think that we get out of it essentially exactly the same that the mentees get out of it. That's kind of the way I look at it, because I don't feel like I'm necessarily teaching anyone anything. Sure, I can give you, I know how to, input grades or something like that. That's one thing, right? But the thing is, like you said earlier, I mean, teaching is always evolving, and I never feel like I've got it all figured out. And it's also really helpful from the mentor side to also talking with these mentees, because you can see maybe some of the things that they might want to change or work on, whether it's a course outline or whether it's a course material or something like that. And these are the same questions that you might have yourself, right? I mean, I'm constantly trying to think of how to evolve my own my own courses and whatnot. So I get a lot out of it as well. Essentially, the information that the mentees kind of get out of it, I assimilate myself, and I think that's all valuable. However, again, I think I always go back to, for me, the most meaningful thing about the mentorship program is literally just the connections that you make with the people, right? So again, we talked about how the mentors themselves are a fairly tight-knit group, because this has grown over time, right? Because people are involved with other teaching initiatives. There's the instructional skills workshop and so on and so forth, and we've met and worked together through some of those things. But it's always just helpful to keep meeting new members of the university, such as yourself. I mean, I know we're in the same department, but and this is another reason why it's helpful to be paired with people outside of your department, because you just get to know them too. And I've met so many people, members of the university, from this particular program, and I just think it's great to have those relationships, because as you're going along, you also start to realize that, this person has certain unique skill sets. And again, I can use that information for my own benefit, or again, if someone else has a question, I can direct them towards them. So I just think making these connections, again, know what you know, who you know, is really helpful. And so to me, that's one of the values that I get out of it. I mean, it's always obviously just great too to be able to help and support, especially new incoming people, just to get through, because I get it, right? I mean, it's a little daunting when you're first starting off, and a little overwhelming for you guys. And if we can just do anything to kind of help you get through, especially the first year, I think that's a win, because it can obviously be really tough on new members. So thanks for joining me, Jessica, and talking about the Peer Mentorship Program. And it was really nice to hear your thoughts.
Well, thank you for hearing me out, and thank you for initially inviting me to the mentorship program. I think, like you said, it's just like in our teaching, it's all about the human connections that you make with people. We're not robots, we're not computers. And it's good to know people face to face and sit down with them, have a cup of coffee, and be able to, talk about your problems.